Hello, it's John Lord here again in the springtime, the early springtime, and I'm going to talk about one of the dirty little secrets of gardening. And you see all these gardening programs that tell you, and nobody wants to mention them, weeds. The weeds will be always with us, like death and taxes. And there's no point in saying, because we're not going to use chemicals anymore, that we're just going to turn our back on them and just it'll be all nice and rosy. You won't. If you want to have a good garden, you have to control your weeds. And the way to control your weeds is keep on top of them. So it's a little bit often and always at the earliest possible stage. If you let weeds get out of control, they will dictate to you rather than you dictating to them. And I've seen gardens, I've gardened for years. I've gone to gardens that are so bad that my advice has been to grass over all the borders and start again, because they've just let the thing get out of hand. You cannot let weeds get out of hand. You have to have a zero tolerance approach, and I make no secret and no apologies for that. You have to have a zero tolerance approach to weeds. It's either you control weeds or weeds control you. Okay, we'll start off, and what we're going to do is we're going to go through various different types of weeds and how you deal with them. And don't mind all these smart ass people that say a weed is just a plant in the wrong place. We know all that, but that doesn't get us anywhere. So let's just deal with reality. And the first weed we're going to look at, actually I see another weed here. The first weed we're going to look at is bramble, blackberry bush. But the reason I said we see another weed, that's a sycamore tree, a very nice, really nice sycamore tree. And I only found out last week, and I never knew this. You think you know everything in gardening, but you don't. I only found out that I always thought that sycamore, the flowers that hang down, I always thought they were wind pollinated. But they're not. They're pollinated by bees. So it's another reason to like sycamores. And there's a sycamore seedling here. And the thing about sycamore seedlings, and we're going to actually maybe pot that up, but the thing about sycamore seedlings or ash seedlings, you can't let them get out of hand because they will take over, but not as bad as bramble. And here's our bramble here, and it's a good example. This is why I have gloves on. But you can see, it started off in there, and we try and get it out. Yeah, we got it out. But it it arches, it grows and arches down and tips the ground, and where it tips the ground it roots again, and off it goes again, and off it goes again. Now there it's rooted into the gravel. You see, so there's a root at either end. So you have, anytime you see bramble, remove it. Okay, that's brambles sorted out, zero tolerance. Now we'll go further afield and look at other weeds. Our next weeding is going to be of a plant, of a weed that often looks like the plant that it's in with, so you often miss it. It's the creeping buttercup, and it has a yellow flower, and it has a similar leaf to a lot of geraniums, herbaceous geraniums, which tend to have pinkish flowers. And sometimes people say to me, I have a geranium, a pink geranium that also has yellow flowers, and I say, no, that's not a geranium, that's your creeping buttercup, which if you give it enough time will overwhelm the geranium and you'll just head up with a bed of creeping buttercup. Now, just want to show you this before I show you the creeping buttercup. This is a piece of laurel, and people say, oh, is laurel hard to root? Is it difficult to root laurel? And this is a piece of laurel that was cut back at some stage, maybe 6 months ago, and fell on the ground and forgotten about. And I happened to pick it up, and look, it's DIY rooting. Decided to cut out the human and root itself. So don't tell me that you can't root plants. They are very easy to root. Okay, now we'll look at our geranium. There's a geranium there. It's a geranium cantabrigensis, I think. Small leaf geranium, flowers in the spring. It's more or less evergreen. We have a little bit of robin run the hedge here, cleavers, which we'll remove. And here's our weed, and look, and here it is again, and look how similar it is to the geranium. If I'm out in the garden, I normally use this, a secateurs. I keep it closed. There it is. Don't pull creeping buttercup up without digging underneath, because otherwise it'll break off just below the ground and regrow. You have to get out, you have to go below the ground with it. That's the next bit, and there's another piece here. Have a look. Now I think we got it. Over the hedge. That's creeping buttercup, and we'll move on to more weeds. Now we do our dandelion. I like dandelions, love dandelions, but they can be a bit of a problem, particularly when they get into the heart of a plant. Now, I remember years ago, old gardeners used to get a bit of sulphate of iron and put it into the heart of it, and they said that rotted it away. I don't know whether that's true or not, but when you're getting a dandelion, you have to get all the root. So it's better if the ground is moistish, dampish, because it's looser then. And take your time. That's the dandelion here. I think there's stilbies beside it, around it. No, actually I think that's a runcus. Well, I'm not sure. Be careful you don't damage the other plants. So you do this. That's the first bit, okay? Here, we'll try it again with this one. You do this, see? See him loosen it? Very easy. Take your time. Give it a bit of a tug. No. Take your time. There, look, we got every bit. Everything back, and we'll try with this one. We got every bit except the little piece we missed here and a little piece there, but maybe we got enough. Now you can see it's like a submarine. Most of it's below the sea, and that's the periscope above. So you have to be careful. Now, in my gardener's brain, we gardeners have a different brain. In my brain, I know that I took up a dandelion from here, and there might be a piece left. So I'll know. So I'm walking around here in the back of my mind, the lizard part of your mind, the ancient gardener part of your mind. I'll be looking out for a little piece of dandelion that might sneak its way back up again. I haven't forgotten about it. That's a good gardener. Always watches, pays attention. Now we'll move further afield to more weeds. Here we have a little weed problem here, and it's interesting. If you look around outside this little patch, very few weeds all around here. And why is there weeds in this patch here? And if I look, I see creeping buttercup. I've got creeping buttercup. I get willowherb. I've got dock leaf. I've got lawn grass. What else have we got? I've got bittercress. I've got Geranium, robertianum, herb Robert. So I've got a good few weeds. The reason we have weeds here is that I dug this piece of ground up last June or July, and I planted some very nice asters. Aster Mönch, and they were really good. They were really, really good blue flowered asters. And I didn't put bark on the ground. So, in other words, I turned up the ground, didn't put bark in it, and perfect seed bed for weeds. That's why we have all these weeds here. Now, what we will do is take maybe 10 minutes. That's all. Remove every single weed by hand. And take maybe quarter an hour, not a lot. You do it now. And when they're all taken up, we'll just bark it over. Just put a little bit of a bark on top, and that should stabilise it. We shouldn't have the same trouble again. Okay, now we'll go on for the next bit of weeding further on. Here we have a different weed. In fact, we have two weeds. In fact, one of them is not a weed because we can actually dig it up and sell it. Actually, one weed, if we dug it up and sold it, we would be committing an offence, believe it or not. The other weed, we'd just be making money. That one there, it's seedlings from that Euphorbia wulfenii, which is one of my favourite plants. I would put it in my top 10 favourite plants. All plants, Euphorbia wulfenii, I love it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I can see 13 volunteers already. If we get a chance, we lift them and pot them. But we won't leave them there because they're not right. But the other weed, which I believe is an offence to sell, this one here. And you see how sneaky it comes up through the Rosa rugosa. And there's one of them. There's another one. That's the last one, I hope. And the funny thing is, anytime you work with roses, no matter how hard you try, you always get prickled really badly. No matter how hard you try. You're supposed to wear gloves, but I find with gloves after 5 minutes I'm warm and I've taken them off and I've forgotten where they are. Anyway, these are ash trees. Lovely ash trees actually. But because of the ash disease thing that's going around, you're not meant to sell them or move them on or anything. You're meant to, I don't know what you're meant to do with them. But these are what were used for making hurley sticks and handles of spades and stuff in the olden days. And it's an awful pity. What we'll do is we throw them over the fence. Maybe they might root, but at least giving them half a chance. Now, just as I was throwing them over the fence, now here we are. Look what I picked up in about 10 seconds. Smaller ash. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we just have to keep an eye. Remember, nature never sleeps, so the gardener should never sleep either. Obviously, maybe sort of 8 hours a day, but other than that, he should be gardening for the rest of the time to keep nature at bay. But we are part of nature as well. So what we do is not unnatural because we're a product of nature. So it's just, the important thing is, you do it in such a way that you make it look pleasant and you do as little damage to everything else around you. And then you have what you would call a garden that's, what the word would be, peaceful and restful and logical, because nature is logical.